Hi everyone, this is Joan, and I hope that you're having a great day. Well, it hasn't been a great time for Jonathan Majors. As you can look at the headline from the Phillip Scott channel, um, Jonathan Majors was acquitted on 2 counts. Let's be happy for that. But he was found guilty on 2 counts. Now, one thing I did like about this show I'm looking at, as it's still on right as we speak. But I did want to say something about it. But in any case, what I did like about this Philip Scott's Diaspora show, this particular episode, not the entire show, was that it showed that Jonathan Majors was found guilty on involuntary attacking or something or other, even though there is video footage showing he was running away from the woman, from his soon to be ex-girlfriend or the girlfriend he wanted to be ex. And I saw another video that said the reason why she was so upset with him was because she found out that Jonathan Majors was not trying to, but was actually talking to Megan Good. So, he did that. When I say he, I mean Philip Scott did have that video showing that. And I thought that was very, very interesting. Now, this is a still. This is Jonathan Majors, and that's his ex-girlfriend, and they're walking. And at one point, he had to me, it was almost a funny, well, not funny, haha, it was just kind of amazing that they clearly showed that the man was running. He was trying to get away from this woman, and yet they still convicted him on 2 counts. Now, I've been to jury duty. I don't know what the racial makeup of that jury duty was, but even though it is 12 people who are contemporaries of peers, rather, and it could be a mixed group or whatever. I was trying to see if there was any more of it, but still, there is a certain amount of people wanting to get along with the people in the crowd, in the group. There are a lot of comedy shows where it shows a person standing up to a jury duty to the rest of the jurors and causing people much distress because, they want to go home, but the jury's hung because one person just won't agree. I was not that person. I'm pretty agreeable, though I do remember saying, wait a minute, he is innocent until proven guilty. And I looked around. I was the only, it was, as I recall, I think it was 4 or 5 of us, uh, black or African, what is it, uh, the continent African or African Americans there. And so I thought I was speaking for everyone, for all of us. And I looked around, I'm the only one. And it's like, how did that happen? So I don't know what the racial makeup of the group was. But I do know that people tend to want to get along. You don't want to be the odd person out. So I don't know if that's what happened here. But to me, you can clearly see that the guy is not trying to harm her in any way. And like somebody was saying, so does that mean that you're trying to run from someone and they fall down and scrape their knee? You can go to jail? Well, maybe. Odder things have happened, I guess. But my question is, oh, okay, what I wanted to say is the problem I have with Philip, and this story was broken a few years back, that he does all this talk about, his channel is the African diaspora, but he's not married to a black woman. So I was listening to this, and I had stopped listening to him for that reason, pretty much. While I was watching, he was saying so much about these these Caucasian women or whatever. Now he was talking about them, not me. And I'm like, what is he talking about? He's not married to a black woman. But then he broke it down. Oh, okay. He's saying that it's the Caucasian woman you should avoid, not everybody else. Everybody, he's looking at the world as there is white and non-white. Whereas I think that uh, I look at the world and I think a few other people where there is black and non-black. So to his mind, I'm guessing, like I said, I haven't listened to the whole thing. Um, what he's saying is that he himself, Philip, is married to a non-white woman. So she can be anything else. She can be Hispanic. She can be, I think his wife, he said, is Native American. Now, the thing about Native Americans, too, is that we're taught to look at them as friends of the black race. And I think some of them were, the darker ones, but some of them also were slave owners. So, and also, now you can check this out because I'll read a lot of things and I'll forget where I read it, but I'll still have this ideal that that's what happened. But they they didn't want to release their slaves even after the white people did. So I don't know. His thing, and I'm guessing again from memory that his wife is not black. She's if you looked at her, I think you look at her and think white woman, but he says or she identifies as, I don't know, could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I think that he said when it was kind of a scandal when it first came out that he has this African diaspora show, but his wife is not part of the African diaspora. But his thing, from what he's saying here, is that, well, even white men have problems with white women, so what makes Jonathan Majors or anybody else think that they won't have problems with white women? And I think it's more than are you going to have a problem with something or someone? I think it is more a matter of loyalty. And I just did a video, a short video. All my videos are pretty well as far as view count. But the thing is, I did a video about how to read the Bible, how to study the Bible, rather. And the question I have to these Hebrew Israelites is where they'll come out and they'll say, well, the black people, the people of the book are black, but the men should marry whoever they want. Now you have directly the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. Now Ezra was a scribe rather. Nehemiah was like a governor. He was made governor. But I think before that he was the king's cupbearer. Now again, you can verify that. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know. But the thing is, they came out and said, hey, we're rebuilding our nation, and you are not going to bring these non Israelite women or their children, even if the father of that child is you, you're not going to bring them in here because they are not Israelites. Now, the thing with Philip, I don't think considers himself a Hebrew Israelite. But the thing is, historically, I have the most respect for Malcolm X because Malcolm X, he practiced what he preached. He went out and said, pro-black, not that I'm against anybody else, but I love my black people. And he put his money where his mouth was. He married a black woman, an identifiably black woman. All these other nations, not nations, most of these other men do not do that. Now he's pointing out Jonathan Majors saying, look at him, look how bad he is. How dare he, or he shouldn't have done this. When will our men learn? And these other women are forbidden fruit. Well, he's only looking at Caucasian women. He's looking at everybody else is fair game. And the way he is justifying his disloyalty to the black race, I think it's the way our men have even if you go back in biblical times, like I was saying, if you look at the definition of the Israelite biblically, it is not someone who only their father was an Israelite. It was the father and the mother. And I think that that is another aspect of how to read the Bible, that is, without your own personal prejudices to the extent possible. And all things are possible with prayer, with the Most High and the Holy Spirit. But I think a lot of these people, they get to a certain point, especially, I think, men. Now, please don't accuse me of disliking men. I do not dislike men. In fact, I like men very much, especially when they're doing things that men do. Men feel very strongly like they can determine what a woman should do, but a woman should not have any say in what they do. And that's not fair. But again, the whole thing is kind of out of whack. That is, when you go to a church and you listen to them, more than likely you're going to be listening to a man. Even if you're listening to a woman, she's probably been trained in male theocracy. And they're going to tell you that you are the weaker vessel, but you can make everything go wrong. Man should be yoked with his wife, but he can be yoked with lots of wives, but a wife, no, she can only have one. And if she should possibly stray, he needs to get rid of her. And if that's what I was looking at this guy yesterday, Jediah, and he also is problematic. There are most religious leaders, most black leaders are problematic on some level or other. They're saying things that, you know, what? How did you come to that? Now, I think it was Jediah Malik. I was listening to him and he was reading from the book of Adam and Eve. And it was saying that Eve was forced to, not forced, but Eve apologized to all the generations after her because not only did she follow the tricks of the devil, she was tricked into it, but she made a vow before God that she would make, not make, she would talk to Adam about eating the forbidden fruit. That was, my first question was, who wrote that? Because, I mean, I know they say Moses he wrote Genesis. And it depends on the translation, but it says at some point that Adam was with Eve when she ate the fruit. So at any given point, he could have stopped it. But what this guy was reading, Judea Malik, was that Eve was by herself and she had to go call Adam to come because she made a vow for him to take this. And he said from that point on, once she took it, Adam should have gotten rid of her because she was now a foreign woman. And he brought up Ecclesiastes, I think, and that was written by Solomon, who, if you really look into it, and this is not to offend any Solomon lovers out there, but again, if you look at Ezra and Nehemiah, the books in the Bible, it basically does say your mother and your father both need to be Israelites for you to be an Israelite. Well, Bathsheba was not an Israelite. She was married to a Hittite. Her grandfather, Ahithophel, he was definitely a member of the groups that they were supposed to get rid of, but instead they brought them into their courts. And he became a very close comrade of King David. And so David married Bathsheba, and I wrote a book saying I do not see how it is possible that, considering Ahithophel and his son were close comrades of King David, how did he not know Bathsheba, considering she lived so close he could look out his window and see her buck naked? So the whole thing is, I think that men in general look at the world like what I do is okay and you're my slave. Anybody who makes me a slave is horrible. But it kind of puts women in a position of, okay, so you're telling me I should help you fight to not be a slave of these people, but I will still be your slave. Because what is the definition of slave? That you do the will of another human being. You do not get to use your own will or judgment, but you're saying that that is what Eve should be doing. And this guy here, Philip Scott, is saying that, well, I'm okay because I didn't marry a white woman. It's those black men who marry white women who are problems. And I really think that, like I said, he doesn't, to my knowledge, identify with the Hebrew Israelites. But they're basically saying, yeah, the Bible is good except for those books that tell us to stay away from foreign women. And again, back to Judea Malik, who is reading this story about like I said, who wrote this? The book of Adam and Eve, about how everything was pretty much Eve's fault, and that Eve became a foreign woman when she was possessed by the devil, when she decided to eat the fruit. And he basically, as far as I can see, he's saying that when she ate the fruit, she became possessed. And that made her a foreign woman. Because when a woman has sex with another man, that makes her a foreign woman. But somehow, when Adam and Eve came together in with conjugal, however you want to put it, that they were both possessed. But Adam had the right to get rid of her, but she didn't have the right to get rid of him. And so he was wrong for being with her because she had been with the devil, but maybe she hadn't been with the devil physically. It was like, what? Who wrote this book? I don't know. God is the Most High is just. He is a just God. What a just God put a group of people on the earth and tell them, you're going to have the babies, you're going to raise the children, you're going to feed the children from your body, but you're secondary. Nobody else is going to come on this earth unless they come through your body, but you are powerless. I'm giving you a brain, but you are not to use it. You are supposed to only do what this person says that you should do. Does that sound just? Would you like to be in that position? God doesn't give you any extra organs. He doesn't give you a brain and then tell you don't use it except in the service of this person. If that's the case, you're worshiping that person. And God said no to idolatry. But like I said, I don't know Philip Scott. I don't have anything against him personally, but I find the same thing with him that I find with men in general. Not all men, but men in general. And that is that. And now, even more so, I really am beginning to think that 2 Timothy 3:15 is really talking about a hatred for women that's coming up and has shown itself in the past. We even have a name for it, and that's misogyny. Because I think that now you see so many of these religious stations, especially Hebrew Israelites, and they are talking hatred of women, that she needs to go in the house unless I want her to go to work, and she needs to take care of children. She needs to, raise them, and she needs to make sure they have good moral values, and she needs to have food on the stove for me. She needs to go get it and cook it. And what you think that I should pay all the bills and you should stay home and take care of the children. No, you're weaker than me, but you need to do both. You go out there and you work, you come home and you give me that money because you belong to me. I don't belong to you. I can leave at any given point because you might have messed up or something. But I, on the other hand, I can do what I want. Even though polygamy did not come in the righteous line of Seth. It came through the not righteous line of Cain. If I want to have 14 wives, that's my business, and I don't even have to worry about supporting them because they should get out there and work to support us. Does that sound like the work of a just God? It's not. And I think it's a certain amount of selfishness on men's part that they feel that, like I said, they seem to feel. Now, I'm not saying all men. I'm saying as a general rule, they seem to feel like I can do what I want and you have to do what I want too. But that's not idolatry. How is that not idolatry? I don't know. Well, you can let me know what you think of what this guy is saying. And, basically, I'm beginning to feel like you can listen to these men, you can love these men, but when they start saying things that don't make sense, that don't interpret the Most High as a loving and just God, then I think you have to stop listening. And I also think that you really need to look at who said what. That's why the first question I have when Jadiah Malik comes out and says something about getting rid of wives, and he brings up all these other things where he's reading Hebrew and everything, but he doesn't acknowledge that polygamy, and I think one of his wives recently passed, and my condolences. This is nothing personal. My condolences to him and his camp. But he comes out and he's like, well, yeah, I can have as many wives as I want, or something like that. But you don't. You have all this knowledge, but you don't notice that polygamy did not come from the righteous line. And the Savior did not say it was good. He said he came to put things straight the way that they were originally, which was just Adam and Eve. And the first question I had about the book he was reading from was like, who wrote it? Because if you say anybody wrote it, it wasn't one of the prophets or something. Well, then does that mean that anybody can write an interpretation of the scriptures and it's fine? You'll quote it. Just because it's written, it must be true. That is not true. Just because it was written doesn't mean it's definitely not canonized, even though canonization was just from man. But I do see this as an attack on women. Now, as far as Philip Scott, to me, it's a certain amount of hypocrisy. It's justifying what you did, and it's showing more than anything a great disloyalty to the race. Now, some people will feel, okay, cool, I'm disloyal, but I'm with what I want. Cool, do whatever, I don't look at life like I'm going to judge you, because I feel like whatever anybody is doing, they're going to pay for it one way or the other. But I think that anytime somebody comes out and they have a lot of viewers, they're influencing a lot of people to do what they're doing. So I think if you look at it that way, the black race really is the women. It's not the men, because the men feel that they can dip out and do whatever they want. It's the women who are left bringing forth the children. Well, as he said that, yeah, black women are going with white men too, but not nearly at the rate black men are. And if you look at it biblically, they always have been doing this. They have always been disloyal. And it has always brought us into slavery. So to me, it doesn't matter if it is, and it's not to me, my opinion ultimately does not matter. The only opinion that matters, not opinion, the only facts that matter are what the Heavenly Father tells you to do. And he said, whoever the Israelites are, they are to marry each other and no one else. Okay, he didn't say, okay, just stay away from those Caucasians, those Edomites. Nope. He had a whole list of, actually, it's beyond a list. It's very simple. If it's not Israel, don't marry. Period. So anyway, um, this is just something to think about. And you can leave comments or do whatever you like. But thank you so much for listening. If you managed this far, or even if you didn't, thank you. And you guys have a great rest of your day.